Welcome back to the Cozy Cottage Homestead. Today is our honey study part 4 on beekeeping and some other miscellaneous topics. I'm going to condense it down just a little bit, so there's only going to be 5 in this series. I'm going to do one more after this, but today the weather was just beautiful and I said I'm going outside for this one. I know there are some noises, you might hear some cars, some airplanes, animals, but you know, it's just part of life. So hopefully y'all can hear me very good. I'm going to try to make sure I speak up so that you can hear me with all the animals behind us. I'm sure you're going to be hearing a lot of strange noises, but we're hanging out here on the homestead. So it's a very good chance you're going to hear a bunch of strange noises. So beekeeping, honey study, part 4. Buying local honey, raising honeybees and beekeeping, and how to store honey and how to decrystallize honey. Tips on buying honeybees. The best thing I can tell you, because I do not have honeybees yet, is to invest in some good resource books, such as Beekeeping for Dummies, Backyard Beekeeping, Beekeeping 101, and as you know, there's a big old wide world out there on the internet. There's lots of good information on just about anything you could think of, but you can find some good stuff on beekeeping online. Excuse me. Check with your local county or your local agency, local parish, the agriculture department, and get some information from them on beekeeping in your area, and they'll have some brochures and lots of good information, probably direct you to some of the websites and stuff like that. So if you're really interested in beekeeping, go to your local agriculture department and they'll probably can help you out with that. And also you can subscribe to some bee magazines. I have 2 listed here, Bee Culture and American Bee Journal, and there are a lot of other beekeeping type of magazines that you can get mailed to your house, you know, like every month or so. So before you get started with bees, invest in all of the basic bee equipment and supplies that you're going to need before buying bees. Just like with anything, any new hobby, you want to be set up for it before you actually go and get the bees. Make sure you have your hives set up and you've done your research and you have all the basic equipment to at least get started with. And also, don't hesitate. If you see a sign and there's a bee farm in your area, stop in there. See if they'll give you a tour of their little bee farm and beekeeping. And you'll probably learn a whole lot more, at least I know for myself, by visiting a bee farm. You can learn a whole lot more, and then you can see how the process works and what all it takes to have a bee farm, what all is involved with it, and then you'll get a whole nother perspective of how the process works. And I also believe, just like with starting any new hobby, to start slow. Don't go out and buy 10 beehives and then later on you buy all this expensive equipment instead of just buying the basic kit, the basic starter kit for beginning with bees. It's expensive. So if you decide you don't like it, or you don't have time for it, or it's just not something you're interested in, then you're not out all of that money that you spent on the equipment. Yes, you could repurpose it, resell it, but you're still going to lose money on it. So if you start small, and you won't have that much invested, and you won't be out very much. But if you like it and you enjoy it, it's something you and your family enjoys, then by all means keep expanding and growing. Lots of people sell bees from honey from the bees right here at their homestead, so you can make a little side income on that. So just something to think about. Also, if you're not really into raising your own bees, but you still want honey, and you know raw honey is good for you, so maybe you just are in an area that you don't think bees will do good, don't forget about the local bee farms like I just mentioned. Go visit some of your local beekeepers. Some people put signs out saying they have raw honey or fresh honey for sale. So invest in that honey, which is what we're currently doing. We buy local honey, raw honey, and also there's a new big thing on the market. At most grocery stores you can find raw honey now. But just do your research, make sure that it really is raw 100% honey, because we know raw honey is the best because it is in its natural form. It has not been pasteurized, so it contains its natural enzymes, vitamins, and minerals. Lots of times the honey at the grocery store has been pasteurized. I am seeing more and more raw local honey in our area at our local grocery stores. So just always know the company. Most of the companies on the back of their honey tells you the name of their farm, where it's at, what state, what parish, what county, and they also give phone numbers. Sometimes they give websites. So don't hesitate to call and ask if you're not sure, to make sure that it isn't imported from somewhere else, that it is actually local honey. Many of those people are just as happy and humble to talk to you about whatever questions you may have. Another good thing to know about honey is graded. Grade A honey is at the top of the line, and I think it goes all the way down to grade F. So if you can afford it, get the best. If you can't, get what you can get. And I always say a little bit of something is better than a whole lot of nothing, right? Have a lot of information to cover. You can find a lot of beekeeping resources online. Most of them offer free catalogs. Like right here, I have a catalog that's free. All you have to do is get on their website and they will send you a catalog with their supplies and beginner kits and the bees, all kind of stuff. All the stuff for harvesting the honey. Sometimes they'll send you information or you can download something. I recommend actually getting a book, something that you can have and hold on to as a reference, because we don't always know if we'll have access to the internet. And if you have little booklets, then you have it and it's yours. So common questions, the first common question I get is, how do I decrystallize my honey? I was going to actually do a demonstration on this, but it was such a beautiful day, so I'm just going to tell y'all about it instead and share with y'all how I do it. I'm not sure if it's the right way, wrong way, but I'm just going to share how I have learned how to do it. Method number 1 is set a glass jar of crystallized honey into a pot of hot water with the lid off, removed from the heat. So you boil the water, remove it from the heat, and then put the honey that's in a glass jar with the lid off and just set it in there. Make sure it's not too full with water, because you don't want your honey to get water in it, then it'll be ruined. And let the water cool off, and as the water is cooling off, the honey should be decrystallizing, basically like melting it. And you may have to do that process several times until all of the honey has been decrystallized. Method number 2. This is a method that I like to use. So you would use a crock pot set on low, filled up about halfway full of water, depending on if you were using a quart jar or a pint-sized jar full of your raw honey, and place that crystallized honey into the crock pot with the crock pot set on low. And it was just slowly heated up, and it'll get hot, and then it has a timer on the crock pot. So it gets hot, and then it gets colder, and it gets hot, and then it gets warm. But if you find that it's getting too hot, because you don't want your honey to boil, you can set it on low. And then if that's still too hot, you could set it on keep warm if you have that setting on your crock pot. And if you don't, all you have to do is cut it off and let it cool all the way down the water, and then start it back up and go through that process 2 or 3 times if you have to, keep turning it off and on until the honey gets back to the liquid form. Alright, second top question, is my honey bad because it has crystallized? The simple answer is no. It can still be used as you like. In fact, it is great in recipes and smoothies at this state. It's still good. You still can use it. In fact, some people prefer it to be crystallized because it's less of a mess. When you put it on that biscuit, it won't just slide right off. So some people like it in a crystallized form so that it stays more of like a paste on their bread. So yes, it is still good if it's crystallized. You still can use it, and it's great in smoothies because you don't even realize that it's not, you know, a liquid form. And also with baking and cooking, you just mix it in with your other ingredients and there you go, it's still good. The last famous question is, how do you store your honey? Honey kept in a dry, warm pantry at the highest point in your pantry, like as high up as you can get it. And here's why to keep honey at the highest point, because if you put it lower, most of the time heat rises, so it will stay warmer. And as it stays cold, and even sometimes really cold, like in the bottom of a pantry or a cabinet, closer to the bottom, it tends to start crystallizing as the honey gets cold. So if you can keep it up higher in a dark pantry, it'll stay more liquid form longer, but it will also crystallize. All honey tends to crystallize with temperature fluctuations, and if it's too cold, it'll just start crystallizing. It's just how it does. And this pure fact about the bees. Bees make more honey during the spring and the summertime. They don't make as much honey during the winter time. So that tells me that this is the best way to store honey, is to keep it on the little warmer side. And as I always say too, nature knows best. So keeping the honey a little bit warmer at the top of your pantry will keep it from crystallizing longer. And I know this was a lot of information all into one video, and I shortened it a little bit because I was going to do 6 videos instead of 5, but since I don't actually have honeybees yet myself, I was just going to give y'all some information on how to get started with that. And there's plenty of other resources out there, lots of knowledgeable people, lots of good channels, lots of good websites. So I just wanted to share that just to kind of inspire someone that may be interested in getting the honeybees, but yet also stay on topic of the actual honey. So I just want to touch on that, and I'm like, you know, I don't need to make a whole video on that. I just, you know, want to let them know some resources on how to get started on it if they were thinking about actually having honeybees. So it all ties together. It's all about the honey. It all ties together one way or another. But just in case there was someone interested on, well, how do I get started, then I want to just give some good information. For, you know, hopefully for beginners, or maybe someone that's already doing honey, maybe they didn't know about some of the resources that I mentioned earlier, and just to help them learn more about the benefits of honey and how to add honey to their diet. So there will be one more study. There will be 5 studies in this series. The next one is going to be on how to cook with honey and how to measure honey in place of sugar. I know there's a lot of different ways you can use honey in place of sugar, but sometimes we don't understand how much honey we need versus how much sugar, because honey is rich and sweet, but it's not sugar. So I'm going to try to break that down. I have a good little chart from my friend Carrie that I have a copy of that, a printout of some measurements on comparison honey and versus to sugar. So I think that covers everything that I want to do on this one. Next week will be the honey stuff on the last one, and I'll probably just share some recipes. I'm not sure. I may possibly make something too. I'm not sure, but that will be the last one of this series on the honey study. So I want to thank all of y'all for joining me today. Thank you to all of my subscribers. Thanks for visiting, and I hope everyone has a wonderful, blessed day. And hello, Mr. Bob. So farewell, Homestead family, friends, and neighbors from the Cozy Cottage Homestead. You are rotten.